You're not tired because you're weak. You're tired because you've been doing what I like to call performance power. You're not tired because you're weak. You're tired because you've been doing what I like to call performance power and denying your truth. I like to call this in your corporate role the quiet exhaustion. You know what it means to perform? I want to spend some time here talking about performance. And I want to give you the right definition of what performance is because a lot of you have been doing that and you don't even understand the power that you have in your corporate role. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it because I contend that when you crack the code on this whole performance thing, you will find ease, confidence, and a sense of joy in doing your work. And you're going to like yourself when you leave. It's going to be less heavy for you on Sunday night. So if that's something you're interested in, dive in because we're going to get into it. So let me tell you about when I first knew that I was living a performance life. It was when I was growing up and our father would come home with his abuse because we didn't know if he's going to come home, it's going to be a good day. We didn't know if it's going to be a bad day. And so my sisters, my 5 older sisters and I, we would look out and we'd see dad coming and we'd all, hustle, get together and sit like we're going to sit like this. Why? Because we just didn't know. We didn't know if he was going to be upset and angry. So in order to avoid his wrath, we thought we would be on our best behavior so that we can get what we want. Sound like performance to me. So I learned this really early on that when you are in a situation where you got to consistently pretend to be something that you're not, it's called performance. In corporate America, we also call this code switching in a way. Why? Because we're performing in order to impress someone. And when you spend your time impressing people, it gets exhausting. And over time, you just feel like you're so tired of living this way because you just can't relax. Now, let me just break this down for you because a lot of you might be confused. Well, what's wrong with performance? And let me just tell you where the ease comes in. The ease comes in when you know that what you're doing is accepted and you actually are doing what it is that you said you were going to do. Let's put this in the corporate context. In order for you to do your job well, you should not have to perform. You should naturally do what it is that you're good at, and you should actually give to your company what it is that you said you were going to do, right? That's not performing. That's just doing what it is that you were hired to do. And even people, let's just say, let's take actors, for example. Actors aren't necessarily performing in the context of which I'm using. Actors who are doing their performance are doing it because that's what they're being paid to do. They just do it very well. Performance is impressing people because you believe something negative is going to happen or something positive will happen as a result of you being something that you're not. And that is exhausting. It's exhausting. I also want to share that when you feel that something negative is going to happen to you every single day, that is like this slow drip that can eat away at your ability to feel and know who you are and trust yourself, right? Because you're constantly second guessing yourself. So, how many of you guys can say you know that's in corporate America? Right? Because if you actually are just doing your job, and I want to give some examples of when I would see this happening. Oh, the boss is coming today. Okay, we got the boss is coming. The boss is coming in. Our direct report is coming. So what it is? Oh, I got to do and clean all this up and do all this stuff. Why can't you just? Your boss is coming. Why do you have to go change something? That means you're doing something to impress someone. Are you picking up what I'm laying down? The other thing is, when you are doing it and it's just a part of who you naturally are, it just becomes who you naturally are. And then you always will have like, for example, you always have a clean station. If you're supposed to have a clean station because that's a part of your job, then why not always have a clean station? It's just a part of your job. It's what you do. Right. And if it's something where you're doing it to overly impress someone, it's exhausting. So this is where I'm going. And a lot of us have been doing performative power, meaning like you are working so hard to try to be something that you're not in performing your work that you can't relax and be you. And so what you've been, and I like to share this because I'm always going to be talking about this path to power, purpose, and connection. So I'm going to turn here so you can see it. This is what I would like to call the path to power, purpose, and connection. So these circles here represent what you are emitting to the world, right? There's a frequency that you're giving to the world. And when you are living in the frequency of performance, which is basically become your character, you feel you got to always put on a show. You got to impress people. That's become your character, right? And you are emitting this out into the atmosphere. And what it's coming back to you as is you got to keep doing that because we just don't believe you. There's something that's off, right? And everybody can feel that. Everybody can feel when you're kind of pretending and acting, especially when you come on social media, right? Because it just comes off as I don't feel it's genuine. I don't feel it's right. Now, I'm going to tell you that there have been times when I come on social media and I might be pretending. And I know this because when I watch the video, I'm like, that don't sound like me. This just sounds like, what am I doing? This is so not right. Because intuitively, you are emitting a chemistry inside of your character that even like, animals can pick up on the stress that you have. It's a little pheromones that you are emitting out into the atmosphere that says you're not being yourself. You are pretending and you're acting. And so you have to get in tune with that. You have to get in tune with that because when you get in tune with that, what you begin in tune means that you start becoming aware that you're performing. And then you have to start practicing who it is that you say that you're supposed to be. This is the work of getting onto the path to power because you're not acting in your power when you are just performing, because that's something that you constantly got to keep up. Now, the thing is a lot of you performed your way in your interview. And so you got to keep that facade up. You got to keep that up. And that is exhausting to keep up because on Sunday night, you got to figure out, oh, it's the boss coming in. Okay, well, then I got to do all these kinds of things. Now, there's nothing wrong with having good quality work. There's nothing wrong with living with excellence, but that's something that you do every day. It's not when someone special is coming around. That's when you're trying to impress someone. So because I want to share with you, because I always like to seek out, because I use for a guide for myself, because I'm a very spiritual person. Like, I wonder if I were to live a performance life, if what I do behind the scenes, now granted, I'm not saying everything you do behind the scenes has to be seen in front of everybody. I'm saying that you need to be honest with yourself behind the scenes. You need to live with a sense of integrity behind the scenes, because I believe in the statement that how you do everything is how you do everything. So you can impress people, and you can impress people and do the things. I call it trickery. I call it, something that is, like I said, it's a heavy load that you have to pick up every day. But I want to share with you what the Bible says. And I use the Bible for me as my grounding of truth. I don't know where your grounding of truth comes in or what metric you use, to keep yourself grounded in a sense of truth and honesty, this is what I use. And I'm going to share it because this is my video. All right. So here's what the Bible says, that you should have an emphasis of humility, right? Humility. So the Bible encourages humility as what's called a like looking at yourself and putting it in a sense of, I'm going to honor others by serving them. And that is a beautiful way to live your life, right? I'm going to serve other people, and I'm going to do it with a sense of excellence, with a sense of honor, and really listening to people. And really, what if you look at the path to power, purpose, and connection, in the center of this is influence. We always want to be a good influence upon others. So it would make sense to you to reduce your performance power and have more genuine, authentic power. And I, I love what the Bible says about that God, Jesus, warns against practicing what's called righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them, right? Because a lot of people, we just want to be seen, like, oh, look at me, look at me, look at me. Whereas if you are acting with the character that is emitting this sense of service, of humility, of integrity and honor, and you will practice that, you will naturally influence others. It will just come to you because you will manifest that, because you will come and it will come back to you. It's just a universal law. And so again, I think the themes that I want to have here is this: focus on service, focus on having love. And which brings me to this understanding is that in order for you to really test if you are performing or not, is what's your intent behind doing that activity? Is your intent to impress, or is your intent to serve? Is your intent to honor someone else? Is your intent to really be open to what other people have to say? Is your intent to listen, to understand, seek to understand? Because whenever it falls back into impressing someone, that's when the problems come in. So I want to read this last thing to you is when we are looking at trying to live a life of internal power, there is a sense of control that you have to have as it relates to your ego. So there's nothing wrong with wanting to be seen. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be heard. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be valued. But when you set your intention to, I believe, above, I believe that when I spend more time trying to honor the spirit that's within me, the God in me, when I spend more time trying to listen and hear and understand and, study myself, understand my triggers, learn about myself, when I spend more time there, you know, there's a piece of the Bible that says, spend more time trying to get the thing out of your own eye as opposed to trying to getting out of others, call it a speck in someone else's eye. Spend more time analyzing yourself and why you respond or react the way that you do, right? Because then you start to know when you're starting to move into this performative power, right? And I want you to naturally and spiritually manifest everything that you need so that you can move out of this quiet exhaustion that we always find ourselves in. As not always, I shouldn't say always, but a lot of times corporate women find themselves in. Is it this making sense to you, right? So what are some of the steps that you can begin to take? Well, first of all, I would start getting quiet. I would start practicing slowing down during the day and really starting to learn when you start to shuffle and get a little kind of different when certain people are around, right? You need to start to see your behavior. You need to rise up out of yourself and start to see, why do I do that? when so and so is around? Is it because I'm just not doing it naturally? Right? So that example that I gave, that when my father would come home and everybody would be shuffling and trying to do all these kinds of things, like, why are you doing that? You just can't have someone come home and just go, hey, and then just be doing what you're doing. Right. So that's a first thing that I would do, is try to do that. In other words, slow down, see yourself doing that and recognizing that as performance power. Then the second thing that I would start to do is I would write down, what are the feelings, and I would say the feelings that you want to feel when you know you're with ease. Right? So you're going to start to see and recognize who you do that around. I want you to start to write down how you want to feel when those people are around, and how you're going to treat yourself and them. Right? And so that's a great first step, is really starting to see yourself. You got to be more aware of yourself. And then you need to start writing down what you want to feel like. And then the third thing, that what do you need to shift? What do you need to shift? Maybe you need to clean up the way that you do your work. Maybe you need to speak some truth to yourself, and speak some truth to others. That is extremely important for you to be able to recognize. This is where your power comes from. The power comes from awareness and practice. And we always talk about passion, but that we'll talk about in other videos. But right now, it's really like, what are you emanating? What are you putting out in the world? And the only way to know that is for you to be able to see yourself in action, right? It's always great. I always tell people, you need to watch yourself like a movie. And if you study emotional intelligence, you'll think, oh my gosh, this is emotional intelligence. Exactly. It is. It's emotional intelligence. And this is what we teach. So if you desire to get out of this quiet exhaustion, feeling overwhelmed, and you're tired of being professional, just that term just cracks me up. You're teaching me personal development, Diana. I'm teaching you professional development, right? To be a professional and have a personal life, they're not separate. They are one and the same. So I'm teaching you how to be a better professional, because a professional is a leader who leads with purpose and leads with service, with an internal power and internal knowing of how to connect with themselves and connect with others. That's why the path to power, purpose, and connection is so freaking powerful. That's what I'm trying to tell you, my sister. Okay? So let me know what steps and what part of this teaching has impacted you today in a positive way, and what steps you're going to take in order for you to continue to have this path to power, purpose, and connection. Does it sound good? I want to be able to help you. I want to see you journey in this internal fortitude, this internal power that I know that you can have, but it takes practice. So let's keep practicing. Let's keep putting our one step in front of each other. Let's get rid of this performative power, right? And work on this innate internal power that manifests everything, and it just comes to you. You influence others. You don't performative power them. All right? Sound good? I will see you in the next video. And we hope that you take advantage at the end of this video, looking in the caption, and start to unlock your authenticity code. We have an audio series that we know will be great for you. It's free. It's free. It's a free audio series. If you like this material, you will love that audio series that you can get. So you'll see it in the caption below. Meanwhile, like and subscribe to this YouTube channel, and we look forward to continuing to provide you with great, amazing, inspiring, encouraging, life-changing, transformative content. All right. Thank you so much.